Okay, everybody, welcome to this episode of Humanode, the Humanode Fireside. We are here to talk about many things today, actually. The main topic, we'll be discussing things DAOs and how, all things DAOs and how Humanode empowers them. There are some other things that we can talk about a little earlier, a little later in the show. And yeah, so Joshua, shall we begin?
Yeah, it's probably high time. You want to say something?
No, I was just going to say that, since once again here I am in Georgia, haven't been able to get back to Japan due to COVID and all, we're here sitting across each other, which is rare. Usually we're sitting across the ocean. So we'll be sharing this one microphone and this one connection here. So don't get confused. It's not Dato's dual personality talking to each other.
Or is it?
Or is it through a personality?
We never know. Anyway, okay, so let's get on today's topic.
So, as the Humanodes and friends have chosen, we're talking about the empowerment of DAOs. And before speaking about how Humanodes empowers DAOs, it would be really wise to talk about the state of DAOs that is right now. And basically, from the principles and the latest highlights of the market, probably, as you might very well know, the networks that are decentralized have to be somehow governed in a decentralized manner. And basically the market kind of goes back to DAOs as a decentralized autonomous organization, but this term itself and this abbreviation is not quite precise, because the DAOs are about like automated organizations, and it's more like a DAC, a decentralized autonomous community, because it's not just smart contracts and neural networks making decisions. Decisions are made by people, and people are like an integral part of what's going on in a decentralized network, and how the democratic consensus on things should be reached. And guys, I want you to name various problems which modern DAOs in the market are facing right now. Can you name a few right out of the top of your head?
Well, I mean, one of the easiest ones or simplest ones is that the voting power is too concentrated amongst, small groups of people. It's basically, at least in my point of view, many of the larger quote unquote DAOs are not DAOs, and they're more centralized than anything. I mean, I've been on board of directors, for companies that were more decentralized than some of the DAOs.
Yeah, it happens pretty often that the best projects were initially bought out by A16Z, and now they can't take any decision without them, be it like putting Uniswap to Polygon or whatever else. So pretty crucial decisions which involve a lot of money then cannot be made by community, really.
But there's another point of view that all those networks are being constructed, and the principles of their democratization are secondary, because to make something technologically, you have to maintain organization, and to have the organization, you have to have like a centralized body that makes decisions and creates ideas. And efficiency versus decentralization, I think it's this kind of quarrel that is happening in regards to this problem.
I mean, I agree there. As in, if everything is out there in the open and there's no structure, nothing's going to happen because people in general, including myself, are lazy. If we don't have to do something, we don't want to do it, and trying to get everybody to say yes or no, even if we're trying to decide on lunch, it's almost impossible unless we have somebody that says, okay, we're making the call, we're going to the restaurant, get in the car now or else.
I mean, you can decentralize the validation network all you want, but if the development and the idea creation of the network is not decentralized as well, then you are stuck with an entity that develops stuff and pushes code for it, holds centralized power over the data that it pushes and all the infrastructure that supports their coding activities in a secret, centralized way. And at the same time, it remains as the biggest validator in the network. So it catches it in terms of validation, in terms of monetary power, and in terms of development power. And if you just briefly look at proof-of-stake networks, proof-of-work networks out there, a body like this emerges that kind of infuses all the aspects in one particular company or place held by a very limited amount of people, from which there's always several people who hold the most power in decision making.
Yeah, actually, there were a few attempts that we discussed a few years ago with the guys from Ethereum. One of those was quadratic voting. Another of those is something that, well, new projects are making. They're just making the coefficient for those who hold a lot for funds that bought into the project. They're making their coefficient of vote 4 times less. So these are the attempts to, to control it more or less that right now the crypto community has because of the limited technology we have right now on chain.
Well, to be fair, if we're talking about private blockchains where your blockchain is only integral into your corporation or a company, buying into it with some amount of stake and then receiving dividends from the commission and emission, as well as getting the same proportionate amount of validation power, would be okay. It would be a great structure for any corporation that wants to be fluid and liquid with its assets. But in terms of a system that supports legal contracts, that supports monetary transactions between various social economic groups, between different entities, well, that's basically making monetary systems belong to a giant corporate structure. So in this regard, the state kind of oligopolizes the monetary system which it refers to.
Well, I guess, one thing that needs to be considered when we're talking about the DAOs for various projects is that, is the scope of what we're governing over. And if we're talking about currency and everything that happens there, who gets projects, who gets payments, it can get a little sticky if only a few people have a voice. It really comes down to the project and what we're trying to aim for. So, in the case of Humanode, it is, in my point of view, fairly clear. We're governing over the system that supports the crypto biometric network and the development of it, how it is to move forward. And we're basically giving the votes to the hands of equally to the participants in the network, because we believe that biometrics are something that are basic human rights, and you want to have a voice about your human right. Therefore, trying to structure this in a one person, one vote structure. I don't know. I honestly don't know if one person, one vote structure will work for every organization or for every project. It could be for certain portions of the project. We're talking development and we have specific goals. Well, if the vote is to develop it, then, of course, the power to develop whatever has to be a little more centralized within that section, that sector, that project. But I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Well, there's like another problem which is more direct in proof of stakes. Proof of stake based DAOs, basically the voters' apathy. And it's not because the voters are inactive, it's because the right to vote goes out with the token, but not everyone wants to kind of dedicate themselves to have any activity in regards to decision making on a network. You just don't have time for it, but you buy token for gains or for in the form of investment, and you don't dedicate yourself to actual voting. And that's why all the systems that are counting monetary giveaways to people that are inactive are increasing this factor of risk that their a quorum will not be assembled.
Yeah. The whole issue here is that the governance is, in a sense, too tied into the token. I know various projects are trying to separate their governance token with their actual token, probably trying to fight this issue, but
Creating more tokens won't solve it.
I mean, the underlying problem is that if the system believes that every single voter is unique, a potential perpetrator could easily spawn millions of bots and overrun any decision system of equal nodes. If there's no civil defense to kind of defend it from masks and various 2D and attacks that can happen on various devices. And well, like one of the principles that Humanode wishes to deliver to DAOs is the civil resistance in terms of biometric validation and like verification of uniqueness and existence of validators that are converted into voters in the network. To build like a proper democratic consensus so that one human being has one vote, and DAOs built on top of this principle can already modify and custom so many wonderful democratic things on top of it, such as delegation of the voice or various censuses that choose representatives, or many other various forms of democracy that exist in the world. And it kind of disconnects the monetary value from a person's ability to vote and participate in the system. And well, if a person doesn't have money, not a lot of it, and he's not conducting some entrepreneurial activities to control a network, he can still participate in it, and he can still bring value without being a millionaire, which you cannot do in proof of stake networks because of their size.
Well, I wonder, for example, if we take not a proof of stake network, but DAO that was organized in the same token vote fashion over Ethereum, is there any way that Humanode can still save those that are already there and cost billions of dollars?
Well, I don't know if there's a way to change their ways. There are things that we can do to assist. I mean, could create a one person, one vote voting system to give the final decision makers, reason what people are actually thinking, what they actually want versus what is being decided.
And actually, we have seen tribes that are emerging because people have different views in the votes about the protocol, right? But we haven't yet seen something like crypto party who are like trying to influence the decision of those in power. And this is something that could appear later with Humanode, just people verifying their identities, getting into parties, trying to influence those who have the most tokens and the most vote.
Well, what kind of influence can you make on a person that wields direct control over like funds? Like you can try to influence all you want, but I'm a decision maker in pro-world and pro-cis system just because I have more money than you do.
Well, they're public people sometimes, especially when big funds buy them out. So they will have to cater to what people tell on Twitter or wherever. Sometimes, if that's an organized movement enough to do that.
Just to give you an idea of how a truly decentralized DAO could be different from a more centralized DAO. Just look at regular corporate structure. Okay, so if I'm a VC and I want to buy out a company, or I want to invest into a company, the one thing that I make sure that I be doing is to make sure that they don't have that many shareholders, that their shareholder pool is as small as possible so that it's easier to control a group. So in companies that I've been in, we'd start out with, let's say, we have 10 people that are working, from ground zero, bootstrapping it. We make it, let's say 10 people, we all get 10% each. And when VCs come in and says, well, no, the CEO is going to have at least 50 or 60%. So you're going to have to consolidate all of those. And, people get angry, people leave, whatever. And then when, after a while, the VCs will start saying, okay, we don't really need these guys, right? Just buy them out, buy their stocks out, consolidate it's more. So, they'll centralize the authority as much as possible, because then once they have a majority, they can either, grow it and of course sell it to the public if they want to, or they can, if they see that they're not going to be able to recover the money, they can slice it and dice it and sell it in pieces. So, the main goal for a lot of the people with money, their goal is to make money. And it's easier to make money if you have more control over the entire system. Now, what I find interesting here is what is going to happen with Humanode.
So that's why a few funds turned us down, right?
Oh, I'm quite sure that is exactly why. Because as of this moment, right now, in Humanode testnet, our second version 2 Humanode testnet, we have 978 nodes. We're just a little shy of 1,000. Hopefully, we'll make it within the next couple of hours. But this is 978 unique individuals, unique nodes. Now, by the time we launch mainnet, we want this number to grow to 10,000. So imagine 10,000 people having a voice, potentially, in the direction of where this can head. How many VCs or how many groups of moneymakers will want to control or buy out 10,000 people?
Well, still they can, because they can buy out the monetary supply.
That's true.
If we give it to them, but we will not. you will soon learn. And basically, um, it's maybe okay for them that there's like such a democratic ideology or project where voting is purely, equal among people. That's why people will believe in it. That's why I have to buy more monetary supply because I can control the price, right?
Mhm.
So like you're using that psychology to buy. Well, basically, in monetary perspective, if the buyout of funds is bigger than the buyout of people, then there's some price control, speculative movements, or the token itself. So there are still like vectors of attacks that can be done by the people who want to kind of grab into the power. But in this regard, it is not as awful as in like other networks, because there they control it from the outside using like price movements and buying out when they want, selling when they want, and at the same time they control it from the inside, making proposals, controlling the development, knowing anything about what's going in the ecosystem because they control it and then they buy into it to control it more. So there's like a step away, but still, people with money can be quite influential.
This is something that Jack Dorsey talked about recently, and actually the analyst from A16Z, oh no, the founder of A16Z and Andreessen Horowitz fund, I mean himself, he banned Jack Dorsey on Twitter for saying that, but I mean, the guy's moving in the right direction.
So, Dato, let's, going back to our main topic here.
Yeah.
How can Humanode empower the existing DAOs?
We've been discussing like the pure equal DAO based on like human nodes.
Yeah.
But
that's our own experiment.
That's our own experience. That's how we're building like the Humanode branch. But the Humanode technology is going to be open source as soon as New Year, like having like a stable version working, so that other people won't build on a prototype that breaks down every couple of minutes. And people will be able to integrate into any proof of stake or proof of work or whatever system, proof of love, any system that you might think of as a symbiotic way of creating a proper defense for your network. So hybrid proof of stake, proof human existence based simple resistance for networks, like any network out there can have staking and proof of someone's existence and uniqueness behind the node that he's just kind of representing. One of the biggest examples is Cosmos, as they don't have a lot of nodes in their system, and every big validator is known, right? They can easily kind of integrate Humanode to validate either a person or a group behind each node, and so that the transparency and trust in the system could be much better. And many other different examples and variations are possible.
Yeah, for example, there's sometimes very cheap, zero commission, but anonymous validators, and you never know when they go offline. That's the problem with them. But I think we could empower those, lonely validators who just want to be part of the infrastructure, but they are not really big financial entities as those staking companies who market themselves and place bigger commissions saying that they're safe, secure, and things like that.
Are there any other examples you can think of?
Well, yeah, a lot of DAOs came to us saying, hey guys, our launch is next year, February. Can you make something about it, please? So one of the examples from the public goods ecosystem is, of course, universal basic income. Yeah, the only way people are trying to do that right now is through social vouching, making all people reveal who they are, and they make people talk to each other so that they could check each other, do things like that. And it doesn't really scale well when you want to launch a DAO for thousands of people in about a week or so. So these people are coming to us to bootstrap their universal basic income project. Yeah, that's just one of the examples. So I can go on, Shannon.
You can
if
go
you'd
on.
like. Yeah.
Do go on.
So the other great example are small DAOs. They have their own problem. Imagine like 5 people creating a small organization for buying out NFT artwork together, pooling their funds because they pretty much know each other, but they never know how much one of the DAO members' money has in reality, right? So what he can do, he can just, pull more money than others. And if you have a basic like system, he will just have one vote for the whole DAO, right? The only way to stop it and limit their power in terms of, such an occasion is to know exactly, this is the person who holds the power in this small DAO. Thus, we limit his power to like 49%, and that's it. He can't, become the only decision maker in a small DAO. It's really crucial because there is no law. People are all in different countries, right? There are only smart contracts to coordinate their activities. And they could be in a really bad situation. Just all their money captured, but one voter, he's doing everything he wants, buying all the art he wants. And the guys are just stuck in that DAO with him without being able to do anything.
Doctor, do you have any examples that you can think of?
Yeah, well, it's the example that I don't really talk about, but it's actually like, the private and decentralized technology that we're trying to build for biometrics create this unique way to vote for something in a pseudonymous way, right? Not an anonymous, but there can be anyone behind a terminal in the proof of stake network. Like it can be an address, but people using the address can change, and they can sign and vote just by being there. Voting on Humanode or through Humanode will be done using the biometrics of a person. So the system doesn't know who the person is, but it knows that it was the same very person that received the right to vote, and not anybody else. And this is like a crucial principle, which is not, it's unachievable on other networks because they don't implement non-transparent biometrics.
Oh yeah, they can't even achieve it in the government in many countries.
Wow, it's hard.
Yeah. So you mean I can't just have my secretary go and vote for me, as if I had a secretary?
Yeah, it's like there could be like our organizations behind a single address, right? And you wouldn't really know who you're giving this vote.
Yeah.
And imagine like that somebody holds like a vote in the system, right? And he's like assigned this address, and he says like some amount of stake that he holds, and that's the power. And at the same time, there are organizations behind large sums that like organize stuff together, like marketing and stuff.
Yeah.
And because of the sheer amount of people coordinating stuff better or in larger quantities than you, they will be more popular for the delegators. They'll be more efficient, and they always have power because they cannot collapse. They cannot fall ill. They're always there, and this is bound to a person. It's only done, but the same person was given the voting right too, and I think that's a very important principle.
So we're about 30 minutes into this fireside. It's about time to open the floor up to any questions, if there are any. Feel free to raise your hand, and someone here will unmute you. Or if you are shy and don't want to speak up, you can type the question out in our chat, in the Humanode Hub. So this is your chance. Speak up. I see. We have our shy group today. We have one person here. Yes. Silas.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, a quick question. You mentioned today that your goal for the mainnet is around 10K of nodes. So is that will be collided somehow to the time when you, or how you think it will scale? Like now we have around 1K of nodes, yeah, 980, I suppose, at 3 minutes ago, something like that. And do you plan to, like, when you meet that requirement, then announce the mainnet launch or something like that, or how do you see the involvement of the tests process right now? Do we will have different iterations or testnet for testing the nodes, or how it goes? Thank you.
Yes, thank you for the question. No, actually, there's a lot of things that should be built until the mainnet is capable of being a proper defended network. We're planning to stretch the possibilities of substrate, and we want to see how our basically proof of human existence based substrate palettes can we hold nodes working together. Because we're going to have another test net with the finalizing blocks. Well, closer to the summer, I suppose. Also, there's going to be upgrades to different test nets, including this one, in terms of privacy, as we're going to make sure that the biometric template computation are done in a trusted environment. And only running test after running testnet 3, we're going to be redeploying the mainnet, and of course, as we always do, the entrance to the mainnet will be like based on proof of time and proof of devotion of people that were running the mainnet nodes. Otherwise, we think that some kind of pre-mine is not a proper principle of equality. I hope that I answered your question.
Yeah, thank you. That would be enough. Yeah.
Okay, so people know. Amir?
Hello. Yep. Okay.
Great to see you again.
Oh, yeah. Thank you very much. My question about how the DAO progress going to work, because most of the foundations and projects allocate big amounts of tokens because they want to fund their ecosystem improvements, and they want to some type of control of the chain early on, but they keep going over that, and they align with several also big entities, so they mostly control all of that structure from start to the end. You mentioned multiple people, probably thousands or more, maybe more people going to take action on the on-chain decisions, but how this going to be in structure exactly?
So let me kind of clear the question for myself. Basically, you're asking about like how the DAO is going to work like Humanode, or you're referring to the token sale?
And not about the token sale, but
But
how
about
they are
the,
going to be utilized or funded actually. Because it should have some funds from somewhere. Probably, I don't know what's the plan for that.
so you're asking basically where the funds in the DAO appear, right? Is that your question?
Yes.
Oh, of course. So initially, we're planning to allocate a part of the tokens to DAO, and there's going to be like a special type of DAO that we call Vortex, which its structures and formation. It's a special body that consists of humanodes to basically create proposals, vote on them, and decide on the funding as well.
So yeah, initially we will bootstrap funding for the first years, actually not by dumping the token, but the part of the public sale funds will eventually go to the hands of the DAO and will be dependent on its voting. Though you should check out the DAO structure in the white paper, and it will tell you like, no, there won't be full control of 1,000 of nodes over everything that is happening in DAO from the day one, but there will be a gradual process of decentralization, and treasury, I mean money of the DAO, its assets, the control of it is restricted to who can make proposals on how it is structured. So thing is, the more you have, the more time you run the node and the longer you vote in the system and participate in the system, the more rights you have to propose crucial stuff like the distribution of treasury and things like that. But eventually, after full decentralization, the goal is that the treasury itself is also controlled by the DAO and by the votes of the people in the DAO. And only then the money can be released to the grantee.
The idea is pretty simple. The person who spends voting on chain for 4 years and also participates in the projects of the DAO and creates an idea that is accepted by a DAO for realization will have the same voting proposals and power as the founders. That's our goal in 4 years' time.
Yeah, and there are like actually more tiers than that, and you're getting special rights even if you at least vote, or you already have special rights. But if you do it for a longer time period, like 1 year, then 2 years, you're getting more and more rights in the system.
But rights doesn't mean that your voting power is growing.
Yeah.
Regardless of whether you're like an old voting validator or just a new person that registered for the first day, voting power is always equal to 1 because we're all equal human beings.
The only difference is that you will be able to propose more depending on your proposal rank or governance rank. But all people who participate in governance will have the equal 1 vote each.
I see.
And,
By participating, you increase your some kind of trust score, so you can do more or act more.
Propose more. At first, you can propose product changes in the ecosystem or create new projects. And in the end, you can change like monetary propositions, core DAO structural changes, and various other core things of the Humanode. But I'm repeating myself, but this is only referring to the type of Humanode that we are building. This like Sybil resistant technology can be implemented in other networks, and it can be done otherwise.
Yeah, and actually there are two more, things to bootstrap Treasury. Well, not to bootstrap, but this is something that will refill the Treasury. I mean, continuously. And the first thing is that the DAO decides what percentage of the commission fees go directly to the Treasury, then to be used by the DAO. Thing number one, it can be 1-2% basically on top of the commission fee, and that's it. And the other thing is that the biometric providers, right? So there is a special market for biometric providers. And as we are a non-profit organization, right? We're not making business out of it, out of our network providing biometrics to everybody. So those companies who give us the biometric technology to our network to enhance our liveness detection, to give us access to technology to scan different modalities, they are not only setting their own fee for using the technology, but they are also setting, I want this part of the fee to go to the DAO. So, this more or less like a charity, but at the same time it's not, and it's for the benefit of the whole Humanode DAO, and it doesn't go to the company or to like the founders, right? It goes directly to the Treasury.
I see. So the biometric provider is also going to have a bit more power at the start, I suppose, since they directly choose.
Well,
Actually, they won't have.
I can provide you an example, right? Imagine we have
Yeah, sure.
5 biometric providers, and the DAO chooses, well, who are we to integrate next? Of course, these are companies, they have to be paid. And one biometric provider says, okay, I'm taking 5 cents for every biometric check, right? Because that's what I usually charge. But at the same time, I propose that as a commission fee for those who will be using through Humanode network, my biometric technology already integrated in Humanode, the price for them will be 10 cents, not 5 cents, meaning that they're saying that our DAO will have half of that. So the biometric providers themselves bet on their own commission, right, that they want to get, and they tell how much they are willing to share with the DAO. And these two things create a market between biometric providers where the DAO will choose, do we choose this one or do we choose that one? Biometric provider, also thinking about the users of the network, of course, and what they will have to pay.
That totally makes sense.
Okay, so thank you for your question there. Okay, Igor, let me you speak and go ahead.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
We
Hello
can
there.
hear you.
Igor, can you hear us?
Oh, sorry, I was speaking with the muted microphone. Yeah, hello, everyone.
That happens.
First of all, thanks for this session and all your answers. It makes a deeper impression of the project, and it's really cool. My question is regarding the testnet. Is it going to be the incentivized testnet or not?
Who knows? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not.
At this stage,
Do you want it to be incentivized?
yeah,
Do you need it to be incentivized? I don't.
The reason why I'm asking is that you can receive tokens in the testnet, but there is not much. I wasn't able to find the list of assignments what to do with the tokens. Besides, transfer to another account, for example, and that's it. So, is there
Yeah,
maybe?
you can just through the Polka UI, you can basically print them, send them to each other. But answering your original question is like, Igor, what would you think about the testnet if it had like 1,000 nodes and all the people participating in it knew that it's incentivized? Or you would see a testnet where there's like almost 1,000 nodes and it's not incentivized at all. And people are making nodes, well, and deploying them for their own like electricity costs or cloud costs just because of the idea. Wouldn't we be more like idea driven and pure?
Community,
Community driven if it's not incentivized. And
Actually,
well,
okay, sorry.
sure, go ahead.
Actually, you're absolutely right, because in terms when you're using the not incentive, like just regular testnet, it's about the idea. And what's regarding the incentivized one, it makes more people to do the the assignments that you want them to do. For example, you have some particular assignments to make a vote, etc. It will be much easier. That's only my opinion.
Oh, yeah. Regarding the things that we were anticipating people to do on the mainnet. Well, the main thing and the novel thing is the biometric identification, and there is a small hint. So some of people, we can see that people have hard times going through biometric authentication, and that's actually what we're testing mostly right now. Not taking into account that the developers and even developers from community are testing our software, just making the node overloaded with the requests, spamming transactions on their own, as that's testnet in big amounts, because developers can do that. Those are the things that are happening in the backend, behind the scenes. And yeah, for us, the main thing right now is to test out the biometrics themselves. I think that when we later on move and launch the third testnet, which will be before the mainnet, yeah, there will be much more things to do, because we will be testing out the voting system probably.
Yeah, the voting system, first of all, thanks for the answer. And yeah, the voting system, and maybe finding some bugs in the software as well, because we have experienced, it's already the second test we are participating in with the Humanode, and we had some issues with scanning the face. So maybe it might help to report those issues as well.
Well, I think we gathered all of the issues that you guys had, and they're like already 2 weeks ago in development. Yeah, it will be much better to the mainnet, and it really gave us a lot of knowledge, guys. Of how you are using it.
We're still getting bugs, and
Discovering new ones
every day, and there's like work ongoing, and we'll be doing that endlessly.
Yeah, one thing that I will say, although I'm not going to say too much, is that there are two concepts that actually Dr. mentioned here, and that is in our white paper, in our governance model and everything, that is proof of time and proof of devotion. And we see the community blogging, we see the people who are continuously contributing. We see people that are attracted to this. You can tell that you have a group of people that are really working on this testnet because they think the idea is great, and we notice that and we see that. So one hint, I think, is when Dr. mentioned that when we launched mainnet, say, okay, who are going to be the validators here, who's going to be able to launch Humanodes first? Maybe, just maybe.
Just those people who are running it for half
Stop.
a year.
Stop saying
just
that.
maybe.
No, no. Okay, we don't know.
But
Really
we
hard to
don't know. But
Yeah.
I will say that knowing the founders here, knowing the team and being part of the team, I can say that you will probably get more than just a kiss in the air.
Okay.
You might
Okay.
get a written vote.
Thank you very, very much for your question, Igor. Really sorry, but there's like Seok-Hyun Denny. That was just a question, so I would like to give him.
Thank you for your question.
Thank you for your question, man.
Okay, just a minute. Let me. Oh, okay, ready. So, Danny, you're up.
Oh, okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, can hear you great.
Oh, thanks. I have a slightly different question than testnet related. I read your article about at the blog. I thought this was about all things about DAOs. So my question is, how will Humanode contribute to performance management or reward resource distribution of DAOs? I mean, do we look at possibilities where we can actually link or match the activity of the account to the activity of the human identity and properly distribute resources or reward to the accountable human identity rather than just account-based distribution?
That's exactly, you're right to the point. I mean, nothing to add here, actually. Yeah.
There's one more follow-up question, and I just want to hear about your opinion. Do you think this will increase the mobility of the work for DAOs or lessen the mobility? I mean, linking the activity of the account with the actual human identity.
Well, it certainly automates the way you count something done by somebody in the system, right? But optimizing stuff is really dependable on the stages that are happening in the governance of the system. And well, you can have a Sybil-resistant accounts that kind of are linked to its actions and activities, but some processes are optimized, but it's really dependent on the DAO structure itself.
But I mean, of course, once you have the history, if the person has a full history of participating in many different DAOs, contributing to them, you can trust that data once he is verified, right? And I think that's what can bring up the mobility. When new people come and the current community can see value in them because they can prove what they are based on what they did in the chat, or better, based on what they did in the past in other decentralized organizations.
Okay, great. Thanks for the answer.
Thanks, Danny. Great having you here.
So we have about 5 minutes left. We have time for one more question. If anybody is wanting to, now is your chance. And if not, okay, Dato, is there anything else that we want to talk about today?
You know, when you're kind of giving the voice to the equal people in a voting system, and the voice is equal, as we've mentioned in our white paper, it kind of brings other problems to the table, right? And it's less of a certain thing, but it's more of a food for thought. Is a controversy of delegation, right? So of your vote, and for a long time it's been a very big question whether to allow a delegation in the system at all, because basically if you have a system where there's no delegation of voice, it means that only those people who have time and dedication to actually govern
And knowledge, yeah.
and knowledge, you know, are able to express their freedom of word, right? Their opinion directly. And those people who want their voice to be heard somehow and their power to be delegated are kind of cut off. And it makes this elitist group of people that have time, effort, dedication, knowledge to drive governing processes to the direction that they can choose, right? And not many people have that time, effort, knowledge, etc. But on the other hand, if you're allowing delegation of, human voice to another human being, then basically you're creating a populist trap, right? Where those who don't know much, like inside kitchen of a game that always changes, right? You can have an opinion about things that are going on and the way you can see them, but you don't know the inside kitchen of the government processes. That's why you're basically delegating your voice based on the marketing or political marketing of some person or an organization or something, right? And you can fall into this trap of populism that you have entities that are competing for power through trying to grab delegation voices as much as possible to themselves, right? And in my opinion, a proper system has to find a delicate balance between one and another, to have like the checks and balances that deliver a balanced structure between elitist politicians that have time, effort, and everything to govern, and those who want to express their voice, but not to make it a populist marketplace, you see.
So we are at the 1 hour mark. Victor, would you like to, do you have any final comments here?
Not the final comment, but it just came to my mind that something that is right now really limited by technology in crypto is, well, you can have a DAO and operations inside it based on token, but how do you have the cooperation between the DAOs? This is still a big question. And this is something that even the DAO frameworks like Aragon came out with. Hey guys, we need this functionality already, but they need a strong identity protocol and, well, ideally private one in order to do that. So I think that DAOs will thrive even more. That's how we'll empower that, because we will be able to connect them.
Okay, well, yeah, that's.
So before we finish, actually, there is one last question here.
There's actually two.
Two, okay.
One was from Emre from Bitcoin Bell.
Okay.
Okay. My question is about that delegation part, because the delegation mostly causes the centralization on the proof of stake chains. So do you guys have any estimated plan for that issue, or you are just still planning that balance of the elitists and the populist groups?
Well, for now, we are going with delegation to, one person has one vote, but you're able to delegate to anyone in the system. But we have a special hypothesis that we're going to release this year, how this balance is going to be recreated, through which prism. But yeah, so wait for it.
Yeah, and you should understand that the delegation, it's just about the vote. It's about decision making. It's not about infrastructure. So the infrastructure will be distributed, and there won't be delegation of your voting in consensus, but the delegation voting on decisions in the DAO, only in that sense.
Okay, then one final question here from Andre is, how easy will it be to take back the vote you delegated to someone?
In a click, click, and that's it. Your voice comes back to you. Everything's fluid, liquid.
Yep.
Democracy to the max. No regional representatives, no colleagues of voters. You give your vote to anybody you take it away in an instant.
So that means if you vote, you delegate to someone because you think that person is funny, and it turns out that he's a real clown, and that you really screwed up by giving him a vote, you don't have to wait for 4 years.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you, everybody. That is this episode of Humanode Fireside.
Thank you very much, guys.
We'll be back again in 2 weeks' time, and I hope everybody has a very, very happy New Year's.
Yeah. And a special thanks to the very brave, heroic validators and humanodes on our network. Thank you very, very much for being with us and going through the pain that we have delivered to you with our application. But we're seeking to become better. Thank you very much.
And just as a closing remark here, 985. So we have 7 more validators within this hour. Hopefully, we'll be reaching the big 1K milestone within the next couple of hours.
Yeah, and if you know someone who wants to be a humanoid that still isn't, just push them so we reach 1,000.
Yeah, time to type out, send out the links. And, make sure we get more
Spread the word,
humanoids.
guys.
Spread the word.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, once again, thank you very
Cool.
much.
Peace out.